You do not want to be the person that pulls their bike out of their van at a track day and has to start fixing issues. Or even worse, be the person that breaks down or has issues on the sight and lap. So this is everything I do around a week before I go on any track day. And it just so happens I'm taking my mini twin to Suzuki Live at Cadwell Park this weekend. So let's get it prepped. Now this shouldn't take long. I reckon I can do a full check over and film it in less than 10 minutes. So let's start a timer. You've got to make sure it runs. Get it warmed up and then we'll see what we're working with. We'll start with the most important thing, tyres. Now I'm not setting the pressures. You do that at track when they're warm and on tyre warmers. What I'm checking for is to make sure I haven't got a puncture, to make sure they're not below a range that I'm not expecting to see. So mine is sitting at 24 PSI, I'm happy with that. Check your tyres over for gouges and splits and make sure you've got plenty of life left in them. While you're here, check wheel bearings. You've got no play in the wheel bearing. Spin them up. And obviously chain. You need to make sure you've got good chain tension, exactly what you're expecting and consistent all the way around. And then make sure you've got enough lube on that chain. Make sure you've got good life in your brake pads, enough fluid in the reservoir, and also your brake feels as you'd expect it to. To start with, this is just routine checkovers. I've got 6 minutes left. If you haven't got a lift like mine, you can do this on the floor. Check your front brake pads for thickness, your discs for wear and free play, and also that your fork seals are dry. Now this is something that sounds so stupid, but so many people don't do. Just look over your bike. Just look at it. Actively look at it. So many people don't even look at what they're riding, they just forget about it. Set aside 2-3 minutes just to look over your bike. And these are things you want to look for. Use some sort of light and look over your bike. First, look at the engine, look for oil and coolant leaks. You'll find that most engines will have some sort of mist or some sort of oil debris somewhere, but if you regularly look over your bike, you'll know where those spots are and what to look for. You need to get familiar with what you're riding. No bike is 100% dry. A lot of oil seals will weep a little bit over time, but if you look over your bike regularly, you'll get familiar with these and then you can just keep track of them. That's the best thing to do. My linkage is starting to get some play in it, so I need to replace these rose joints. Check the rivet link in your chain. 9 times out of 10 when you get a chain failure, it's because of the rivet link. Make sure your shock's lovely and dry, and make sure your brake lines aren't chafing through anywhere. Front brake lines regularly chafe because they move with the steering axle, and obviously they get compressed with suspension. Check you got fluid and you got no scraping and pinch marks on those. And now the really important one, oil. I know my bike uses oil, so I have to top this up every session. I am seriously going to run out on that timer. I shouldn't be talking to the camera so much. Electrical issues are so common on track bikes. They go through so much stress and vibration on the bike. So look over your loom. Look out for any chafe marks or cracked sheathing and just highlight any points and any issues before they happen. If you can catch something that's rubbing through before it rubs through, you've saved yourself a breakdown. I noticed one of my fairing brackets started to stress and looked cracked, so I gave it a tug and that happened. It broke off with me tugging it, so I need to put a new one on it. That's why you look over things. I'll make a new one of those brackets later, but now a really important step, spanner checking. I do see the irony of me holding up Allen keys when I said that. Now the point of this is to check common failure points. You're not torquing everything up to spec, you're just feeling every bolt to make sure it's not loose. Because if you torqued it in the first place, it's now not loose, then it's still tight. And like everything, you get to learn the common points on your bike that come loose. Things like sprocket bolts, foot pegs are common ones. I'm not going to go around and check all the nuts on my crankcase because I know they're not going to come loose. Vibrations that cause things to come loose, so it's the extremities, that's loose. So it's things on the extremities, like exhausts that do regularly come loose. If you see something that's loose, obviously nip it up correctly. This shouldn't take that long. You're not torquing every bolt, you're just going around making sure the important ones aren't loose. I'm missing a bolt out of my front mudguard. If you lose a bolt due to vibrations, a dab of Loctite. An extra thing I always like to do is check the suspension settings. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Now, I've never known these to change while out on track or move unless your suspension's got some sort of issue, but it just gives me the peace of mind to know that the suspension is right when I go out there. So just check it, look at it. It takes 5 seconds. Now, this is the stuff I'd usually start with before I get it on the workbench, if I wasn't filming a video. Said it before, so I'll say it again. Bouncing your front forks like this doesn't tell you anything about the suspension, but it will tell you if there's something unusual or something wrong with what you're used to. So if you regularly do this, learn how your bike reacts and how it feels. If you do that, you can very quickly see if there's something gone wrong. Say you've got a damping issue and the damper's gone fully open and stuck open, you'll be able to feel it rebound really quickly and it's unexpected. That's what you're feeling for. It's not telling me anything, it's just telling me that it's doing what it usually does every time I'm pressing the forks. That's all. And do the same on the rear. And here's one that's probably the most important. Make sure your controls work lock to lock. So on the stop, make sure your throttle springs all the way back, brake pulls in, and also your clutch has free play at the end of it. And do that on both locks. I should have checked the coolant before I warmed the bike up, but that is a good general track day checkover to be done every time before you ride your bike. Even if you think it's fine, just look over those key points. So when you roll it out of your van at a track day, all you got to do is put fuel in it and you can go. Oh yeah, maybe do your tyre pressures when they're warm as well. 8, 7, that's a complete lie. I always underestimate the time it takes me to film videos. Anyway, I'm at Suzuki Live this weekend. I'll film some videos while I'm there. See ya.